Yeah, why don't we talk about The Rock? Okay, we should, as always, we should be talking about The Rock. That is how this works on this channel.
Oh, we're talking about The Rock.
Talking about The Rock. So, with this weekend, we had new releases. We had the new Jungle Cruise movie decided to come on out, and originally it was slated to pull in only $25 million, and it actually came out here and decided it wanted to do $9 million more with a $34.1 million haul, which is pretty good. I will fully admit. I watched the movie at home. I would not pay to see it in theaters, but I figured home was okay. And I mean, the movie was fun. It wasn't anything to write home about, but this kind of big action spectacle is something clearly people wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that's good. It also had a 94% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And that would be through verified purchases, because that is how Rotten Tomatoes operates. So that's pretty decent here. So we see here that the movie did pretty well. Disney's Jungle Cruise sailed past this weekend box office competition to earn the #1 spot. The movie, which stars Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, took in $34.1 million domestically. Jungle Cruise is the biggest family movie to open at the box office since the pandemic started, earning an additional $27.6 million overseas. Globally, the movie brought in a grand total of $91.8 million, with $30 million of that coming in from Disney Plus Premier Access. And so that's interesting, because just 2-3 weeks ago they had Black Widow.
Yeah.
And that in its opening weekend pulled in $80 million. So, I mean, well over double, 2.5 times the amount that this movie did. And then it still made $60 million in Premier Access. So, I mean, that was a really solid opening weekend. The movie itself has kind of done okay. I mean, it hasn't wowed the numbers in following weeks, but this is the last big Premier Access release that Disney has. And clearly the movie's done well enough to where people are kind of championing it, even though the budget on this movie, I believe, was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200 million. So that is, I just want to double check that. Let me double check that Jungle Cruise budget.
You know what this proves to me? That Emily Blunt's a movie star.
Emily Blunt's a movie star, absolutely. So the budget for Jungle Cruise is an estimated $200 million, with a combined production and promotional cost of $362 million. The movie needs roughly $500 million to break even. It's not going to hit $500 million. It's definitely not going to
break even. Are you serious?
Break even. That's what I was just reading.
So you're telling me this movie is going to operate on a loss?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
wow.
Like 100%. It was never, I mean, it might do well on home video. It really just depends on how Disney Plus. I mean, look, the $30 million it made from Disney Plus Premiere, that's all profit, right? They don't have to share that with anybody, but the promotional costs are definitely there. And the $362 million on this movie wouldn't have even made that kind of money if the pandemic didn't happen. I'm sure it would have crossed 500 million. I don't doubt that one bit. But I mean, this is not a $1 billion movie.
No, definitely not.
It's not. And then looking into it more, because then some more information kind of came up about this. Well, real quick here, Daniel Scott says, thank you for $5. The Rock meets African Queen. I'm on board. And it's a fun movie. It's definitely a fun movie. But the idea here is that like it is also very light on plot until like the last like 30 minutes. And it's interesting storyline. I did dig it, but just the build up to get there, it was like, it just took forever to get there. So there's definitely that. But what else I was able to find out by looking around here, because again, people are talking about this whole thing with the Disney Plus Premier Access and Scarlett Johansson suing Disney. Well, they're asking, is The Rock going to sue? And that's a good question. The Rock here has said he won't be suing.
Oh, wow.
Well, this is the thing, is that movie sat as long as Black Widow did. Actually, not as long, because Black Widow was slated for May 2020 and this was slated for July 2020. But the deal that Disney came up with most likely centered around him and Emily Blunt getting a payday, and which would definitely, require a lot of stuff, a lot more money being spent. And they probably are well, they said here, well, I think The Rock said today that they are actually now exploring the Jungle Cruise 2 conversation, looking at the popularity of this film.
Do you think that's the entire reason why he's not going to take any legal action here, because he wants a sequel?
Most likely. I mean, Scarlett Johansson is out. She's done with the MCU. She's not even voicing her What If character.
What?
That the animation. Yeah. She's not voicing What If. Tom Holland isn't voicing Peter Parker in What If.
Wait, what? Are they at least going to get people who sound similar? Because that's...
I would hope so. I would hope some people are coming back. Some people aren't coming back. It's a weird thing. However, they clearly they have their own deal worked out with Marvel. This is one of those things where The Rock worked this out with Disney and Alan Horn and the people at Walt Disney Studios. And so he's not worried. He got paid. Remember, The Rock is a businessman. The Rock is a businessman. He got paid. That's all he cares about. So we have to remember that one here. But also, as I found out today, apparently they have enough footage to fill another cut of the movie with raunchier humor. And The Rock said here that one of them is not PG-13. One of them is very red band. I want to see an R-rated Jungle Cruise.
It's a fucking Disney movie. Like, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's a Disney. I mean, just because it's a Disney movie doesn't mean that they don't swear on set.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that they don't say dirty, rotten things. They do. I mean, it's a film set. Trust me, you will say a lot of stuff. It happens. But I think the fascinating thing here is, like, they're talking about how they have enough footage here for a red band version of this movie. And obviously it's a tease. Obviously Disney would never release it.
Yeah.
But that would still be kind of cool to see. I think, like, I've said this before, and let me just kind of posit this your way. I've always said it would be really interesting if studios took a dual layer approach or a double layer approach to releasing films. So what you have is you've got roughly about 5 screenings per day at theaters, right? You've got your morning, your early afternoon, your late afternoon, your early evening, your late evening. Those are your 5 screenings. Those are your times. If you were to take a movie like let's say Jungle Cruise, and you were to have it be PG-13 for the first 3 showings of the day, but the last 2 showings of the day, it's the R-rated red band cut. Wouldn't that be fascinating?
Oh, that'd be an amazing fucking move. I just don't see Disney. Like I said, maybe Deadpool 3 will open up their minds at least a little bit to more stuff like this. I'd love to see that happen. I'm not hedging my bets. I'm really not.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I wouldn't hedge my bets on that one damn bit. All I'm saying, though, is, like, there are certain theaters like the AMC and Universal Studios at the City Walk in LA where after 6 p.m. kids aren't allowed in. And I'm saying, like, having like take Deadpool, for example. Deadpool could have a PG-13 cut that runs in the daytime that has, all the gore in the Deadpool movies was all digitally added in after the fact. All the blood was digitally added in. They could cut around that very simply. The movies come out on hard drives, and oftentimes they're beamed right to the studios. They're streamed right to the servers in the theaters. So it's like it's on a server that these cameras, these projectors pull from. So they could easily have multiple cuts of the movie. Now the problem would be if a projection is screwed up and put the wrong movie on the wrong time. But that happens anyway. Every year I hear a couple of stories about how a kid's movie was accidentally taken over by a horror film. It's like little Johnny sat down to watch the movie about Miss Moffat, and he got more than he bargained for. When I Eat Ass 28 played, the adults only late night show showed children what it means to get deep in it anally. I mean, it's like,
hey, have you ever heard that story about there was like at some time on Cartoon Network years and years ago, I believe I was a kid at the time, at some time at 4 a.m. they like mixed up the clips that the footage that they were supposed to play, and they played some like old ass war movie that Warner Brothers had saved up like years and years ago, and it was really eerie and mysterious. You should look into that story sometime. It's weird what happened.
I'll have to check that out. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so as we kind of wind this story down, as always, I want to hear your thoughts. 323-305-4101, 323-305-4101, because we could the Jungle Cruise. If you've seen it, I want to know your thoughts. I didn't really think it was the best movie ever, but it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen either. So